Meeting to order. If you would, please join me in the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pam, would you do a roll call, please?
Mayor Klein.
Here.
Alderwoman Dobbs. Alderman Fahey. Alderman Donovan.
Here.
Alderman Huey.
Here.
Alderman Eidman.
Here.
Alderman Ross.
Here.
Alderman Prince.
Here.
Alderman Steiger.
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. At this time, we will look for approval of tonight's agenda.
Mayor, move to pull a couple items off the consent agenda, item resolution 36 and resolution 37 and 38 off the consent agenda. Move to amend the agenda as such.
Okay.
Move to approve the rest of the agenda.
Okay, so I have a motion to amend the agenda by removing resolution 2025-36, resolution 2025-37, and resolution 2025-38 out of the consent agenda and into the regular agenda.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you much. At this time, we do need to discuss the election of the president of the Board of Aldermen. Alderman Steiger served as the president for the last year.
I make a motion to continue that for another year.
I second that.
Everybody's fired against that. It's his job, nobody
Okay.
wants.
So I have a motion and a second to reappoint Alderman Steiger as president of the Board of Aldermen. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, congratulations,
Just
Alderman
didn't
Steiger.
want to see if there was any other motions to nominate anybody else, I guess.
That, they were quick to move on that.
We even had a third.
Yeah. So congratulations, Alderman Steiger.
I guess that's a vote of confidence or a vote of suckery, so. Thank you, everybody.
Nobody else wants it.
And then we are also going to take a look at the board and commission liaison appointments. And so currently, we'll start with Heritage Commission. Currently, Alderman Fahey is the board liaison to the Heritage Commission. By all accounts, he shows up and is active in that. Would anybody like to be appointed, or are we okay with?
I'm fine.
Okay, but then.
Okay.
Which one?
So this is the Heritage Commission. Alderman Fahey is currently serving as the board liaison to the Heritage Commission. Okay with that reappointment?
Do you need a motion on that or?
I think you're just your.
I think
No, I think you just appoint people.
Okay.
Yeah.
If everybody's okay with that, he has been active. He's at the meetings. I think that's a good fit there. Alderwoman Dobbs expressed some interest in being a board liaison to the park board. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Would anybody else have any interest in that appointment for a discussion?
I would like to be appointed to the park board too.
Okay.
It only takes one, or you'll just send one?
We just have one typically for each. I mean, you're welcome to show up as well, though. I mean, that's
Okay.
She approached me already, so I'm inclined to appoint Alderwoman Dobbs to the park board if everybody's all right with that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tourism Tax Commission, currently Alderman Steiger serves as liaison.
I'll continue if you so choose, Mayor.
My understanding is you're at the meetings as well, active participant. You want to keep going?
I'll continue at your pleasure.
I'm happy to reappoint. P&Z Commission, currently Alderman Prince.
I mean, I don't have a problem continuing it, but my work schedule does prohibit me from time to time, but for the most part, it's not a problem.
Okay. That is a voting, it's one of the only ones that's a voting position. So I'd like to make sure, do you think you'll be able to make those? Or
Yeah.
I'd like to see somebody on there, especially since we are going to have some P&Z matters relating to the new subdivision, some other item, so I think it's important that we make sure we've got a representative there, so as long as you can make it there.
If not, I can Zoom. I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct, we can zoom into that.
If they establish it ahead of time. They'll need to know.
Right.
A couple days before, then we can do that.
Okay. All right. Any issues there? Okay. And then SGTV, currently Alderman Eidman.
Yeah, stay.
Good there. So we do have a vacancy on the Housing Authority. Liaison to the Housing Authority. Does anybody have an expressed interest in that? Not all of them?
Like, does it just meet once a month?
Yeah, they're just once a month, right?
During the day.
It is a day.
It's daytime.
Yeah.
What day?
Second Tuesday,
Oh, yeah.
1 o'clock.
That's lunch.
I'm working.
Anybody be able to fill that time slot there? Tough one for.
Can you get it in the evening?
Maybe Alderman Fahey maybe would want to, you know.
We could ask.
Yeah.
I can do it. I should be,
Are
yeah.
you okay to double up? Okay. All right. Well, then that's what we'll do. Then Alderman Eidman will be the board liaison to the Housing Authority.
If not, let us know.
Yeah.
That should be fine. Tuesdays are pretty good for me.
And we can, I mean, if it becomes a problem, we'll revisit.
Yeah.
And then looking at committees, our Health Insurance Committee, we currently have Alderman Eidman and Alderman Donovan. Good there? Okay. Annexation Committee, currently from the board, we have Alderman Steiger and Alderman Donovan, and then myself representing. Any issues there? Annexation?
No, I'll continue. I'd
Okay.
be happy to.
Stormwater Committee, we have the same three. It would be myself, Alderman Donovan, and Alderman Steiger. Good. Anybody want to be? Okay. And then Housing Development Committee is currently Alderman Donovan, Alderman Steiger, and myself. Anybody want to join or curious? Good there? Alderman? Okay. All right. Then I think we are all set for board commission liaison appointments. So thank you all. And if there's issues with making it to meetings, please let me know and we can talk to the group.
I tried to go to the IDC meeting. I haven't been to the last one, but I think we have a representative that goes to the IDC, I think, as well.
Happy's typically there.
Yeah.
And I've been to the last, I mean, to several of them, but they normally ask me if there's something that they weren't discussed. But I think Happy goes regularly.
Right. So, but I don't know if we've ever had an alderman as a liaison for them, because they're not, and we're looking at city boards and commissions. But yeah, we'll continue as staff to go.
Okay. All right. Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay. If not, don't believe we have any personal appearances tonight, so we will move along to city administrator's report.
So you got the report at your seats. Item 1, we met with employees yesterday with some benefits to review the new healthcare deductibles and how they work. We'll see a premium savings because we went to a higher deductible, and then we balance that with an HRA, which is an agreement that we will pay, because we increased the deductibles to $5,000. We've been doing $2,500, so we've got it broken down now. We have higher premiums. The individuals or families will pay their part of the deductible, the first part of $2,500 or $5,000, depends on if they're single or family, and then we'll pay the back half of that. So we didn't suddenly throw all of this at the employees to say, well, now you're responsible for $5,000 in deductible. And that's what the committee came up with, and so I thought that was the best way to go. There's also a buyout plan if the employee wants a $2,000 deductible. So we started that, and we'll have that, the insurance itself starts up June 1st. Item 3, Propest concrete and asphalt paving will now both begin on Monday, June 2nd, weather permitting. Concrete was going to try to start next Monday, but they've gotten pushed behind because of their schedule and because of the rain. So everything starts on the 2nd. And that's when school's out, so it'll be best, no buses that we have to deal with, the regular buses. Item 5, the Housing Committee met and submitted some alternatives to McBride for the housing agreement. We're waiting for their response and hope to have a draft agreement possibly at the May 22nd meeting. So that's what we're shooting for, something for you to look at. It may be a work session item, or it may be where the committee is fairly secure in what we've agreed to with McBride to bring it as an ordinance, but we can discuss it at that meeting as well. But it would give you a chance to do a first reading. And then item 6, Lakeland is submitting our liability casualty insurance to a number of companies, looking to see if our rates are in good shape, where they are with Tokyo Marine HCC. Hoping to finish those up by the end of this week and get some quotes in the next couple of weeks. And if anything changes, you will know about it. Any questions? Yes, sir.
I've been driving around this week and looking at the streets and the potholes. I've targeted Valley Springs and Point Base. And I was wondering, do you have any idea where these guys are working on the potholes, or what streets, and what have they done?
Teddy, I got that same concern. Can we wait and do this during the mayor and board communication towards the end of the meeting?
That'd be fine.
Yeah, because I
Two things to
got,
discuss.
I got some of those same questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Happy on number 2, what's senior officials workshop? On your administrator's report?
So there's a SEMA meeting that's taking place on disaster preparedness, and it's coming up next week. That's one of them. Yep.
So Happy, it's my understanding that the June 2nd, 9th Street starts also?
We have not confirmed that yet, but we're going to give them a notice to proceed next week or the week after, so they can get that started.
Okay, I'd like to possibly be in attendance. I mean, that would be,
Well, we haven't had the pre-construction meeting yet either, so that's the first thing we want to get done before we give them a notice to proceed.
right. And if I can, I'd like to be a part of that because I'd kind of like to see a detailed, they're going to do it by sections, my understanding, and, so I can start preparing. I know if we post it online, not everybody's going to get to see it, but that's going to be a major deal. And just want to kind of have answers as people approach me and saying, this is where we're going to be, this is what section's going to be closed. And especially concerning now, with the wet April and start of May that we've had, that this thing could drag out. I just want to make sure we hold them to a pretty tight, open schedule that, everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah, I have not seen the construction schedule for any of our projects yet, but we should be getting those soon and we'll get those out.
Yeah, and I'm sure my counterpart would probably want to be involved, somewhat also, because we'll both get calls, about it. So, because it's a big deal.
Yep. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of work this summer.
Yep.
Yep. All right, anything else? All right, okay, good, thank you.
Thank you. We will move along to staff reports. First up tonight, we have Tourism Director Aaron Smith.
Good evening, everyone. I'll start with something that I forgot to add to this report, which is the website is up and running. So the new visitstgen.com is up and running. It's the first of many things that you'll see our new brand start to pop up on. Still a lot of stuff to do on that. I'm doing a lot of writing and changing out photos and things like that. Some other things you'll start to see May 26th on the Bloomsdale exit. You'll see a billboard with the new brand on it. It says, "Welcome to St. Genevieve." I have one of those in your packets. And so it'll be facing southbound visitors and showing people that the next 3 exits are for St. Genevieve. And then you'll start to see signs in town. So we have a matching grant from the state that's being supplemented by TTC funds to replace the wayfinding signs that you see on all the corners. So, we talk about like some of the visual things that are going on in town, and I always wonder why those those wayfinding signs are so, you can't really see them for some reason. They don't really add a lot. And I think what we're missing kind of is this sort of visual vernacular is what I'm calling it throughout town. So, once we have the billboards up, once we replace the billboard next to Mississippi Lime, which is coming up, and you start to see that branding, and people start to associate, okay, these colors and this writing with St. Genevieve, then when we rebrand everything, it'll start to come together and these signs will start to pop a little bit more. But Main Street Signs out of Perryville is working on those. So probably I'm hoping to see the first ones kind of come in late July, but you know how those things are. I kept saying that with the website, it's going to be in February and then pushed it back. But we're trying to get everything right. So that's good. The Amarobo Bay House will reopen May 23rd. Something special, very special is happening there. I don't know if everybody's aware, but one of the previous owners of the Amaro house, Pelagie Amaro, has quite the story. And actually that story was picked up by a 2-time Academy Award-winning studio out of Los Angeles. They did a short 15-minute biopic, and the National Park, when they reopen that site, are actually going to have show that film for the very first time. The actress who was in that film will be there for a Q&A, and the descendant of Pelagie, who got this story made and did a lot of the funding, will be there as well. His name's Don Strand. We were accepted into the Missouri Main Street Connection program, so that is very cool. We received that word on Monday. We're awaiting the next steps, which will be providing our portion of the grant funding, and then they will come to town and do a town hall meeting. So residents of downtown, business owners in downtown, anybody who has a stake in the tourism of downtown, the revitalization of downtown, the historic revitalization of downtown, will be invited to that. I just attended the French Heritage Corridor Conference in WashU. I was part of a panel that talks about how to promote the French Heritage Corridor, which is basically that Mississippi River corridor in Illinois, Wisconsin, Iowa that have French towns, Michigan even. And the French Heritage Corridor is kind of cool because it's under the National French Heritage Society, which is a huge organization. They actually donated somewhere like $5 million to the rehab of Notre Dame after it burnt down. In fact, the president of the National French Heritage Society came to St. Gen on the bus tour. So we had some pretty big people in town. One of the women that's part of that is going to help us get a sister city in France. So these kind of inroads that I'm making to promote St. Genevieve to our French-speaking sort of brethren is going to be sort of magnified by our commingling with this organization. So I'm hoping to go to their conference next year as well. Another big thing, the ferry is under duress right now. Just talked with Ron Inman. He said they have about 3 weeks of operating funds left on that. And I think it's a huge tourism asset. They saw, SEMO did ran some surveys, and they found that 70% of the users of that are tourists coming from Illinois to Missouri. I don't think the Port Authority Board looks at that through the lens of agricultural asset, but it's really not being looked at as a tourism asset. And they don't think they get a lot of support from Illinois, but there is some movement there on the Illinois side. Terry Bryant, who represents Randolph County, has a bill on the table to give the ferry $250,000 a year, which would help it run for more than just the weekend. But I don't know, if anybody knows anybody with some deep pockets that wants to keep the ferry running, that would be great. Otherwise, we'll see what happens. But I'm kind of taking that on as well because I think it's super important for this town. It's an asset that I don't think we should lose. So, any questions?
Aaron, this sister city thing, I mean, it will be in Normandy, France?
She's isolated 3 cities that we should approach. So like you want to find one that's in, like a historic area and a lot of our people came from Normandy, which is interesting. And, you look for something about this similar size as well. And she's looking for historic towns. So she's got 3 in Normandy and a couple that aren't in Normandy. But I hope
What do you ask that, Bob? What is that good or bad, you think?
Well, I mean, no, Normandy would be my pick, because of all of the military and all of the visitors that come from even this area that go over there. I think it would be a huge asset for them to pick Normandy, and because of all of the, D-Day stuff and the cemetery there is something to.
Are you saying whenever we go over there, you want to come? Is that, you want to be on that list?
If I was going to travel overseas, that would be one. That'd be my first pick. But
All right, gotcha.
I think Normandy would be a really good opportunity because of the amount of local people that go there.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't even think about it from that side. I think of it with all of our buildings that have Norman trusses, and just, from my own family, my Cajun roots, they go back to Normandy. So that's where most of the people came from. So interesting, though. Interesting flip side perspective.
This sign, what's the time frame for how long is that?
We're under contract for a year, and like I said, the state grant that we have, matching grant for welcome and wayfinding, is going to help pay for that. So, and actually, we get a great rate on it. It's like $450 a month or something like that, which is Happy seemed excited about it, so that was good. I don't have much to compare to, but
I know one pays $900 out on the interstate in that same vicinity.
Okay, yeah. So
They have lights, so I don't think ours have lights.
we can get some lights on there.
Well, it's expensive.
I don't know.
So it's not apples to apples, but the
Yeah,
one
sure.
I know of is at least $900 or $950 a month, but it does have lights. So.
Okay, well.
I would try to secure that vinyl, even if we don't do it past the year, those are vinyl that they put over those. Those are not, permanent signs or painted signs or anything. They're just a big
Just a
vinyl
wrap,
overlay
yeah.
they put over them. I would secure that after the fact. That may come in handy.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we don't do it, after that.
So who designed the sign?
So that is from our branding firm that we worked with. Yeah.
I think it looks great.
Yeah, thank you.
It should really help.
Other questions for Aaron?
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Aaron. Next up tonight, we have community development. David Boba.
Good evening, everyone. Got my report there. I wanted to point out a few things. I think last month I pointed out we finally received the agreement from SHPO on that 2024 Historic Preservation Grant. We continue to work through that agreement. It's pretty long and detailed, but that hopefully will produce a mobile app walking tour in the coming year. Wanted to point out on the building department that we'll send out notices for sidewalks probably the end of this month. Just an FYI. Comp Plan Committee will meet again probably the first or second week of June. I'll send that invite out early next week. We'll get together and make sure we keep that document alive and running. On the back page, I think you're probably aware, but I wanted to point out, of course, vegetation nuisances have certainly increased recently. Gene and I have been looking, contacting. We've already actually had to mow a few. Wanted to let everyone know here and the public, you can call and report a concern, or there's actually a report of concern on the city website. And that's all I have. Yes, sir.
After you issue a violation, what's the process after that as far as, is there any fines or anything? Or,
For grass.
oh no, for the violation code property maintenance?
So for,
If you issue a violation letter,
but violation letter for, because it's different.
like grass or
Grass is,
or trash or something,
so those are different. Grass, we put a notice, I either hand it to them, put it on the door, sometimes mail it, sometimes all three. That notice will give them 5 days to mow. 10 days after the notice, there's a vegetation hearing. At that hearing, which hardly anyone shows up for. We deem it a nuisance, and then we hire someone to go mow it, and then we send them a bill. If they don't pay the bill, we put a lien on the property. That's how that piece works.
Okay.
Junk or derelict vehicles, things like that, I would send a notice. You would have anywhere between 14 and 30 days to abate that, take care of it. If it doesn't happen, sometimes folks call and ask for extra time, and that's okay, as long as it's not, too much. Then we would send an officer out to issue a citation. The fine is up to the judge.
Okay. Special use permits. When are they reviewed as far as what the special use says and what is going on?
Unless it's written into the rules of the special use permit when we issue it, it isn't reviewed. Or, if we get a complaint, it would be reviewed. But some of those are issued with no annual review. And I believe about 6 years ago, when I first took this role, that board agreed that we would not do annual reviews.
Well, so some people out there with special use permits are never reviewed. Huh?
Most of them are not.
Once it's issued and
The majority of what we have right now are Airbnbs. Those have to do it, if they're in a residential district, they have to have an annual review. If they're in a commercial district, they don't. Beyond that, there are no annual reviews.
okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Yes, sir.
Had a couple things. Last Thursday, I had kind of notified the school that there was mud on the little side street off of Maple. Then I got notified today that that's never been cleaned up. And people are tracking it back into the apartments, and they were doing a good job initially, but now for some reason they do need to clean that up again.
I will pass it on to Gene. Any issue that involves the school, I do not involve myself with.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Second stuff, I was questioning on, and I didn't look up in the building code, on a commercial, what is our requirements on stormwater runoff on a commercial building?
That's a long answer. If you want to meet privately, it depends on the size of the property and all kinds of other
Yeah.
factors.
I'll call you or something.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Thank you, David. And last up tonight, we've got Fire Chief Steiger.
Good evening, everyone. Should have a copy of my report. A couple things to bring to your attention. Personnel, I do have another application out right now. So if that follows through, it's a senior guy that'll be a truck operator, but that'll bring us back up to a total of 27 of the 29. So we're slowly building back up, hopefully to a full roster someday. The ARPA grant, we've been sitting with partial shipment of the hose. I received word that the rest of the hose should be in on Monday. And once it gets in, then we got to pressure test it and put it on the truck and everything. So hopefully we can close that grant out in the next month or so. Also found out yesterday that I applied for, through the National Volunteer Fire Council and Anheuser-Busch, some canned or bottled water, and they are going to donate us a pallet of that. In the past, we've received cases from other departments that have gotten it. This time we're going to get almost 3,000 cans of water, so we'll be able to keep some and then distribute it amongst the other fire departments in our county. I did add a new section in my report. I get asked occasionally from aldermen on status of hydrants, so I started adding hydrants in. Since the time that I posted this or gave it to Pam for the report, I've been talking with Corey, and they did raise the 2 hydrants I requested, haven't raised. Talked to them about the flow and the painting, and they're hoping to get that started here right short like 2. And the 7th Street removal and move, or the 8th Street removal and move to the 7th Street is in the process. So I'm very happy with the communication between us and Water Department right now. But I told him it wasn't to call him out, but I've been asked several times about hydrants and how things are going. So I figured I'd add that to my report. Any questions?
So the hydrant on Wilder to be replaced to the, from the 2 inch to the 4 inches still?
It's still in the process. I was just talking to Corey about that. I didn't have that one on my list, but yeah. And I also talked to him, we did a pre-plan of the antique mall down in the, what I call the wedge, and talked to Mr. Fahey about that. And there's only one fire hydrant in that whole wedge. So if we would have a fire, we would have to stretch water across a set of railroad tracks one way or the other. I was talking to Corey about that, and they're going to look into the possibility of adding another hydrant down there for us. So I'm really happy with the communication between us and water department right now. Yeah.
Can you make note of what happened at the Chamber of Commerce Gala last week? I think that's worthy of giving those guys a little.
Yeah, we had retirements of a couple of guys a couple of years ago. Assistant Chief Bonnell retired with 45 years, and Charlie Whitmire retired to 43. And then he came back to me and begged to come back because he just didn't want to get away from it. In the meantime, those two were nominated for, and I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce. They recognized them with the Community Champion Award and gave each one of them an award for a total of almost 90 years of service between the two of them. So that was great on the Chamber's part. They've treated us real well. If you remember a couple of years ago, I was recognized for volunteer work in the community, and now they recognize some more other people. So we definitely appreciate the Chamber's recognition.
That's why Charlie's still wearing the radio.
Yeah. The man is so dedicated that he came back, and I kind of laughed at him a little bit. He's almost in tears. He just said, I just can't walk away from it. I said, you were never told to leave.
Yeah.
So, and he's always there helping. He's been great for the city, great for the department. He's the main reason we keep a lot of trucks running the way they are.
Yeah, I think the Chamber made up for their poor decisions in the past for who they nominated, but then they got it right.
That didn't come from me.
It was great to see them get honored.
Yeah.
Very deserving.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks.
This time we will open up the floor to public comment. Anybody like to comment to the board?
I'm going to comment on Joe's comment.
If you like. All right, if there's no public comment, at this time we will move to tonight's consent agenda. And just remember that we did pull out resolution 2025-36, 2025-37, and 2025-38.
Move to approve the amended consent agenda. I think that's the right way to say that.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So with that, we will start with new business then, and we'll start with resolution 2025-36. This is a resolution authorizing the city administrator to enter into the following agreements: a master equity lease agreement, a maintenance management and fleet rental agreement, company-owned vehicle service agreement, agreement to sell customer vehicles and consignment auction agreement. These are all with Enterprise Fleet Management. Discussion?
Yes.
You pulled it out, so.
Well, I know there was some other aldermen that had some questions about it too. So we had that representative, I forget what his name was, but kind of gave us an overview. Then I just thought maybe the chief would want to speak to this a little bit more too, kind of see where apparently you're feeling pretty good about this, and it's a big decision. So I just want to have some more discussion about it.
Yeah, that's gonna help us get our vehicles a little cheaper. We're paying factory prices instead of lot prices. And then, you know, when we get ready to order, it's gonna take a lot of time off of myself and Lieutenant Pollock. We just call in and say, hey, we're approved, we're wanting 2 new vehicles. We just tell them what we want. They go through, they build it, they send it where we want to get the lights and stuff put on, get it all outfitted, and then we just pick it up. So, you know, they kind of keep track of, see how much we're spending in maintenance wise on our vehicles. So kind of helps us with future budgets too. So, you know, this year we spent this amount. It's roughly what we're going to look at next year.
Happy, does that help us any on our vehicle insurance, or is there any,
It won't make any difference.
won't make any difference? And this is also not only for police, but for all of our trucks.
We're gonna test it here shortly because we have 3 trucks that are in our budget for the budget year.
Yeah, the only issue I had was that $400 fee for them to sell our vehicles. You know, you've been doing a decent job selling them on Purple Wave. I think we ought to keep doing it.
But Purple Wave charges something too, don't they?
They charge the buyer, they don't charge us.
And, I mean, I don't think we've gotten very good return off Purple Wave. I mean, sure, we're
We
getting.
bought some decent deals off of there, I think, but I don't know
Yeah,
how we do
I don't
selling.
think, some of the ones that we sold, I don't think went for a good enough penny where Enterprise is gonna probably facilitate a better deal on those.
And we'll see. I mean, in some respects, it's an experiment to see how this goes. See how well they can do for us.
And you think it's good to do the whole fleet, street and water and sewer and police at the same time, not just one of the departments, or?
Well, in this case, what we're gonna end up doing with the public works is we have that fully budgeted. So we're going to lease them, but we're gonna pay them off almost immediately when we pick them up. So we'll see how this process works, going through the whole process instead of, we've talked about it, we've looked at stuff online with Ryan Owens, who's from Enterprise, kind of seeing the way the vehicles break down and what the options are, but then we'll have some vehicles that we can look at selling as well. We can let them do that process and see if it works.
When we buy, normally we get the police trucks new, whether it's lease or purchase. Do we trade those, or do we move those over into public works?
We've been putting them in public works lately because that's where they've had the need for newer trucks. And this one, we do the police one, we're looking at moving that truck into the building department, community development.
So that doesn't regulate or stop us from doing any of that, where we can move them. I know in the past we've donated some vehicles. Does that stop that, or?
It's up to the board on what you want to do with them. Yeah, we're not locked into where we have to have them sell them for us. It's that if they are going to sell them, then that's the cost that they have.
So we provide all the normal maintenance that we would.
It'll go through our regular people, but it will be track of through Enterprise, available online for us to keep track of and look at the maintenance schedule and the maintenance that's been done on the vehicles.
If it comes off lease, though, we'd have to purchase the vehicle before we could.
I mean, we will pay them off. It'll be the same as what we've done with first aid.
And there was, which community, he referenced a few other communities that were somewhat local doing this.
Park Hills was one, I can't remember the other ones.
Perryville's doing it.
So I thought it was in Perryville County.
Chief, have you had a chance to talk to any of them?
I talked to a couple guys over there. They seem to like it. They just recently went into the program. I mean, like this year. I mean, they're just now into the program.
So what is the length of the program? Can we do a year and then reevaluate the benefit, or?
Yeah, that's the intention, but the leases would last for 5 years. We generally have a lease that goes that long because of the payment that we're looking for and what we've done in the past.
Okay, so it'd be a 5-year on a leased vehicle.
Right.
Okay. And I noticed in the report, he says, we'll see a cost and employee time savings with this approach. What do we pay as far as, I mean, is it going to cost us more to do this than what we've been doing before?
So the state cooperative program changed. We used to decide what vehicle we wanted to pursue, and then we would call and talk to the fleet manager at the dealership that was approved through the state. The state has now expanded that list, and if you want to order, you have to then contact each individual company separately because they don't have a list of the vehicles that are approved for state purchase. You have to contact the dealers that have been approved. And where it went from maybe 5, there's now 10. And more than likely, you're going to buy off the lot. You're not going to order like what we did in the past. So what we look at here is instead of calling and working and trying to get through and find out what those numbers are with every dealer that we need to talk to, we can do it with one individual. We can pick the vehicle we want. We're going to get factory pricing. They're not going to increase that price. They're going to take the advertising fee that the fleet dealers would get, and you're going to get the basic price. So we think that it'll cut down the amount of time that we have to spend looking for these vehicles, and it will also we'll get a better price for them this way.
So we're not gonna get one red one green one blue one. You know, we can stay with our colors.
We want to stay with the color schemes, yeah.
Easter colors.
It's better to ask all the questions ahead of time. Get burned enough. So are we looking for a motion? Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
Yeah, but turn
thank you all. Moving along to resolution 2025-37. This is a resolution reappointing Roseanne Ani to the St. Genevieve Tourism Tax Commission.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And then lastly, we have resolution 2025-38. This is a resolution reappointing Whitney Tucker to the St. Genevieve Tourism Tax Commission.
Move to approve.
Sorry.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you to Roseanne and Whitney for volunteering again. Take us down to old business. We have a second reading of bill number 4670, an ordinance of the city of St. Genevieve, Missouri, amending municipal code chapter 715 user charge systems, specifically section 715.040 user charge rates subsections A and B by revising the water use charges.
Yeah, I had one question about that. For some reason, I couldn't remember on the water portion of that. Was there that charge, or was that just on the sewer charge that we had for basically researching to see if our system could handle the additional
There were the charges on both of them.
charges on those? Okay.
Mayor, in light of the ongoing efforts of our comprehensive plan and our annexation plan and some of the other things we have going on here, I don't know if we've taken full consideration. I know I didn't know if Carl Brown, forget the name of his company.
Getting great rates.
Getting great rates, yes. I didn't know if we'd really kind of taken into account what might happen and in conjunction with our plans to kind of grow the city.
The issue is that we are running a deficit in the water department where our revenues are less than our expenditures. We have to make an increase.
I 100%, and I don't know if we've made enough in certain areas for some of those people that are not inside city limits. That's my question. I think the ones that we have in city limits are fine, and I think that's going to be tough for some of those people to swallow, but we have to do that. But I want to have the discussion about the people that are taking advantage of city services that are not inside city limits.
And they get charged.
They get a charge of more,
Right.
but I don't know if it's enough.
Typically, it's 1.5. In the communities I've been in, when we've had outside residents, that is typical of it. That's what he was pulling it from, is that.
Yeah.
And it will be sewer and water, so if they're on both, they're gonna see a significant increase.
I'd almost like to table this and have some more discussion about the second rates. I know we're in a hurry to get some of this stuff done and it's a second reading, but and I guess we could always go back and just change the other ones after this, but I don't know if anybody else has any feelings about that, but
Yes.
This is going to sound silly, but, I'm in favor of the rate increase. We've had an expert tell us we need to do that, and with our funds the way they are, we need to do it, but I am opposed to that particular charge, so can I vote yes and no?
You can ask to amend it and take out the
system development.
system development fee.
that was in just in one of them, wasn't it?
That's in both of them.
What was 46, Bill 4673, right? Wasn't that the one that added in the charge that he's talking about?
It's it's included with what we had in the public hearing. So you're actually removing it from all three of them. Yeah, we've listed it in 4673, but it is also part of the increase that we advertised.
It's in. So if we don't, so should we have actually passed 4673 first?
I would pass 4670 if you want to remove the system development fee, and then the same thing on 4671, and then 4673, we could just hold that, table it, or push it off.
Okay.
And then come back if we want to do the increase for the data logs, we can do that at a later date.
Didn't you state that the system development fee was only for large projects and that small projects wouldn't?
It's for any new meter that's put on the system, any new buildings, anything new is to reserve that space in the system, and that's the cost of doing that. That helps pay for improvements to the system when we need to expand it.
Okay.
So if we annex somebody, they're gonna get that charge also.
No,
If they're not on city water, why wouldn't they?
well, if they're gonna tap into the city water system. Yeah. But most of the people that are outside the city, they may be on a well, but they may also be on county water. If they're on county water, we can't do anything about that.
But then again, we're gonna let them on county water, but then possibly on city sewer.
Right.
Isn't that a nightmare to, because I know we have one commercial business now doing that, don't we? The Mexican restaurant.
No, they are hooked up to our system for their fire flow. And yes, they are on our sewer system and they're on the county water. But the county water districts have already been lined out. We can't encroach on those.
They get two water bills. They get a county water bill and a city water bill, even though they never use any of the city water because it's just for their sprinkler system, which never, hopefully ever activates.
So the county sends us a list of those residents that have the county water that are on our sewer system, and then we charge just for sewer when we send them a bill.
I don't want to muck this up tonight, Mayor, but I just, I also don't want to have to bring this back up at a later time if we're looking at it not being cost effective to bring some of these new properties inside the city.
Understood.
Somebody needs to make a motion. Something.
Would we have the option to waive that fee for special circumstances or not?
If you put it in ordinance form, it becomes difficult to then waive it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, what's the criteria to waive it?
I don't think that's going to be a deal breaker for me. I'm okay with going along with Alderman Donovan on removing that one. It's the actual it's the rate one that's more concerning to me.
Because it's not high enough, it's not.
Yeah, potentially. I don't know if we're. I think we're still giving them a heck of a deal, even at these new rates. I think we're giving people outside the city limits a really good deal for what we provide.
Well, this is reviewed annually anyways, isn't it?
Yeah, we go through it because we have to determine,
So we can always revisit it if this isn't enough and
and we're looking at a 4% increase every year. That was the recommendation from Mr. Brown.
Well, maybe that's all
Yeah.
the discussion. That's all the discussion I need then, I guess.
I don't want to complicate matters either, but I think I know how it's going based on the last vote, so I'll just vote accordingly.
Mayor, move to approve 4670.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Pam, would you do a roll call, please?
Alderwoman Dobbs. Yes. Alderman Donovan.
No,
Alderman Huey.
Yes.
Alderman Eidman.
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Prince.
Yes.
Alderman Steiger.
Yes.
6 yes, 1 no, 1 absent. Bill number 4670 now becomes ordinance 4592.
Thank you. We'll take us to a second reading of bill number 4671. This is an ordinance of the city of St. Genevieve, Missouri, amending municipal code, chapter 715, user charge systems, specifically section 715.140, sewer charges and billing, subsection D, by revising the sewer use charges.
Move to approve.
Second. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Pam, would you do a roll call, please?
Alderman Steiger.
Yes.
Alderman Prince.
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Eidman.
Yes.
Alderman Huey.
Yes.
Alderman Donovan.
No.
Alderwoman Dobbs. Yes. 6 yes, 1 no, 1 absent. Bill number 4671 now becomes ordinance 4593.
Thank you. And then we also have a second reading of bill number 4673. This is an ordinance amending the City of St. Genevieve Municipal Code of Ordinances, Chapter 700, Utilities, Article 2, Charges and Billing Waterworks Systems, Section 700.070 and 700.090 as set forth below.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Alderman Huey.
Yes.
Alderman Donovan.
No.
Alderwoman Dobbs. Yes. Alderman Eidman.
Yes.
Alderman Ross.
Yes.
Alderman Prince.
Yes.
Alderman Steiger.
Yes.
6 yes, 1 no, 1 absent. Bill number 4673 now becomes ordinance 4594.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have approval of the 2025 annual liquor licenses. There's a list provided to you on the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
I got a question.
Yes.
Yeah, I looked through this list and everything. It says St. Genevieve Parish. Does that include the desert and Casey Hall and everything? Is it one liquor license?
That's for anything they have at the school building, like the VIP auction.
Oh, okay. The Bird Center?
Yeah, the DeBurge Center, the gymnasium, it covers their entire property, doesn't it? Yeah.
Casey has their own.
Casey's got their own.
Okay, I can see it on there. And,
It's not due
and I guess the clubs like Lions Club and them take like a certain period of time, right?
They do,
Having something.
but they do it as they.
Have they need it?
events.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
I believe I have a motion and a second. Is that correct, Pam?
Motion.
That's correct?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Any other business at this time? Alderman Ross, I think you had something you wanted to discuss regarding potholes.
Yes, I did. Yes, I do. Oh, well, like I said before, I've driven around through the Ward 4 and I picked out Valley Springs and Point Pace. We'd be going to the other areas in Ward 4 before the next meeting and with another list. But I'm submitting for this paper, it's the City of St. Genevieve Ward 4 Street and Pothole Assessment. And the one road, I talked to Happy about Brentwood. He told me that it's going to be coming up for reconstruction. They're going to rebuild the road, right? But we have no idea on the time because you said you're working on a new schedule.
Waiting for the schedule from the contract.
Right. And that'd be good. But I've gone around and identified the potholes and everything in both of those areas. But I was wondering, Alliance, do we know where they're working or what are they doing with potholes? Are they just working over here in Ward 1 and working in Ward 2? We never know what's going on.
So as long as we have a list from people that call in and what we see and write down, then we go and do them. So I know in the Point Base and Parkwood area, we did those back in March. So there may be more that have popped up since then. But we keep a list, and then as we fit it in between the other work that we're doing, or they're doing, they'll get back around to more potholes. We're looking at asphalting next week. So we've got some areas that we've cut open to fix water lines that we need to patch. So we'll also do some pothole patching at that point too. But there's not a regular rotation of, we're going to do this area, this area, this area. It depends on what we've been notified of or what we've seen.
So as an alderman, we don't know what's going on in our wards.
Well,
Somebody should be telling us that we're gonna be doing potholes in this area, in your ward.
People aren't.
People call us all the time, want to know what's going
The
on.
list isn't working. So we've got to do something different, because if you drive any place in town, you're not going to get anyone here to give any kind of average, or everyone's going to give way below average remarks about the potholes and the care of those. The list is not working. We have to put a consolidated effort on getting the potholes fixed. If you go down to Berg Street, I'll use that one as an example, it has probably 6 serious potholes that are 2 or 3 inches deep. And it's a street that I know that everyone drives past on Market or Merchant.
Duberg is a county road or county street. Duberg is not a city street. Just for information.
But I'm talking about at the edge. At
Okay,
the
so
edge.
if
If you're at the corner of Market and DeBerg and Merchant and DeBerg, there are serious potholes there.
Right.
So, and that's just one of many. We have to have someone to drive every street and fix the potholes. It's bad, and it's ridiculous.
Well, when I drove around Brentwood, I bet I had 4 people come out of their houses and talk to me. Why is our street so terrible? It's like bombs went off or something. I mean,
Last month, we
these
said
are
we
really
got a
bad
report
and
of
big
483 potholes fixed. There's no way that there's been 483 potholes fixed, or whatever that number was. I don't know what the number was, but there's no way that they've done another 483 potholes. There's no way.
I've been kind of an advocate of pothole repairs for some time, and even some different ideas of an outside contractor, but I did talk to Corey about that, and, I know one of the issues was getting hot mix, and that's availability, and of course, then you have to use it right away. He told me that they've got a new product now, it's a little more expensive, that I can stockpile and use it at any time, there's no temperature thing on it, that it gets hard and stuff. So I'm hoping, and that's reason why I questioned him on it, that it will help them, get more of those quicker and stuff. But I hope that there's some.
Well, the question also comes down to, from our point of view, is on streets that are on the schedule to be redone, how much do we want to spend on pothole repair when we're going to be working on them soon?
it could be years. As long as we've been waiting for a bridge.
I'm just talking about, we have streets on schedule to be redone this summer.
But it's over years. Huh?
No.
But we're not.
It's all going to be done in 1 year.
But those 10 streets are a drop in the bucket compared to the rest of the streets in town. So whatever you want to do with those, if you want to wait on those because we're going to repair them, I'll grant all kinds of leniency there.
Right.
But the rest of the town is still ridiculous. So I can understand you saying, okay, we don't want to spend an hour doing this street for potholes, but because we're going to rip it up and replace it, in 2 months. Right. I get that, but the rest of it.
But I got 2 issues. The pothole is one of them. But the other issue, people are coming to aldermen, asking them questions about things going on. We have no clue.
Things. If you can always contact me, David Bova,
I know that.
Pam, anybody.
We should be in the loop. We should be in the loop of what's going on in our wards. So when people talk to us, I don't want to look like an idiot. I don't know anything, So is there any way that an alliance can notify you guys and you can tell us, hey, next week, we're gonna start here doing potholes, or we're gonna do this or that?
So,
I mean, how can we make that happen?
so we have a regular Monday meeting, Public Works meeting. What I can do is summarize what we talk about in that meeting and send it out in an email. So everybody would then have a copy of what we have coming up, what the projects are, or what we've been able to
Okay,
accomplish.
so these are work orders that they have assigned,
It's like,
and they're gonna work on that street.
it's more of a general conversation of what we have. But yeah, there are certain particular items that we're going to be doing. You know, we talked about earlier this week about the raising the fire hydrant at Cedar and 4th Street. We talk about if we're going to be getting out and doing any asphalting, which we've talked about for next week. If we're going to be doing any potholes, we'll talk about that as well. I mean, if you feel that that's the information that you need, we can put that together and send it out.
Well, I really want timelines and I want specifics, not a general thing to go out and say, well, we'll get to here in the next month.
This is
I want more than that.
This is week to week talk. So we're looking at it on Monday and what we're going to do the rest of the week.
The rest of the week.
Now, is something else going to happen that could cause us a delay? Sure, as long as everybody understands that we can't be beholden strictly to every timeline. But we can at least tell you what's coming up and what's going on.
Any information be appreciated.
That's fine, yeah.
You know, we can start with that and see where you can maybe fine tune it down the road
Good.
where it works a little better.
It's going to be messy up front on how to do it and what we need to tell you, but that's what we have to learn. We have to learn it as well. We've not had that kind of request of information on a weekly basis. We summarize it every couple of weeks when we do our reports.
Because, you know, all these aldermen are on the front line. And it'd be nice to know a little more what's going on so we can respond.
Right. But I have not received any complaints prior to this of that we don't feel like we're being informed enough.
Wasn't my first complaint.
There you go.
I just tell them that I have to get back to them because I don't know the answer.
Because and we
I know,
may not
that's
know
what you
the
tell.
answer immediately either.
Yeah.
We should be able to say it right then. Hey, this is what's going on this week.
Happy, I know that you're busy doing potholes, but I was just wondering if you had like an update or if you could tell me, are they planning on doing anything with like the 3rd Street part where it like took out the railing when the flood happened? Have you heard anything about that at all?
No, well, we decided on how we want to design that. You're talking about the railing along the walkway?
Because it didn't hold up.
No, well, it was broken to begin with and then
Right.
it got really torn up at that last flood. We don't have any plans at this point to do anything with it.
Okay.
Because we're trying to get fire hydrants done and it flows, and we've been working on other projects and cleaning creeks because of the complaints from all the rains that came in and all the debris that was left along the creek banks.
Well, if you hear anything, can you let me know?
We'll put it in the report.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because again, that's something that we've talked about, so
Yeah. Okay.
Happy, are we still doing the part-time help during the summer for mowing and?
So we don't do it. Alliance is the management and supervisory folks of that program. So we don't hire anybody.
So hasn't
Right.
it been put out?
But I mean, we're still on target to do that. You know, the issue that's brought up to me and stuff about, you know, potholes and mowing. Sometimes it seems like we do a lot of mowing often, you know, and I'm just wondering if we couldn't shift some of those resources to potholes rather than mowing and stuff. Because I know down along Chadwell, there's a lot of property there that's mowed that's not city property, but it's always been city mowed. Now, my side, I mow, and they used to mow, but I started mowing it, but I felt responsible, you know, and I think there's some areas. Now, the flood buyout, I know we're bound to by law to do those, but I think there's a little less mowing I think we could do, because sometimes I see them out there and they mow more often than I do my own lawn. But might be something to work with them on and, you know,
Well,
a little more
from
resources
what I
there.
understand is they're struggling with only like 2 mowers, correct? 2 people that can mow?
You got more.
Is it only 2 people that's been mowing parks?
There's only 2 people in the parks, yeah.
Yeah, that's 2 in the park, and then there's two more running around
That's not
in the
enough.
city and stuff, but
So where are they at with ads, putting out ads for like,
Are they hiring summer help?
yeah, are they hiring? Cause I haven't seen any ads at all.
I'll be putting that out here when school gets out, so it'll be posted right next week. And two people keep up with the parks easy enough, Jeff and,
We need to try to get that out as soon as possible because these kids are already looking for summer jobs. You know.
and it'll be put out. It goes on, it'll go on Indeed and, problem is, Alliance, our insurance only covers 18 and above, where the city was able to, insure 16 and above, but yeah, it'll be put out.
So is it only 18 and above or is it 16 and above?
It's 18. When the city had it, the city could hire 16.
Oh.
Alliance Insurance will not.
It's 18 and above.
Correct. So,
That puts a damper on things.
do what?
That puts a damper on things.
Yeah.
I don't want somebody too young on a $20,000 mower, though.
Right, yeah.
You can put them at the weed eater.
Yeah, we do.
All right.
I got another question.
Thanks, Corey.
Not on that. How we doing on the flood thing? Is the Alliance put together a checklist to follow as far as if they're forecasting, say, 4 or 5 inches of rain and that they can pull out, go right down the line and say, this is done, this is done. This is done.
So we
They're talking about minor flooding and more flooding in June, July, somewhere along there. So if we get a heavy rain, we'll be in trouble.
So we have a breakdown of floods, tornadoes, disasters, I should say, natural disasters that occur. We've got a chart started. David's been giving some input on that. We talked about it at our meeting. And we're putting that together at this point.
Okay, thanks.
Couple more quick questions. Has the insurance claim been submitted for the flooded properties, Point Base?
Yes.
No word on that, I assume.
And the person that's handling it is out of town this week.
We're putting in for a plan to put in a semi-permanent pump down by Washington and
I'm not planning on it because I don't see the benefit of it. But we can try to come up with a temporary plan so that we can take the pump that we have down there, get it set up and ready to go when we need to.
and is Cochran going to be doing a study on the Point Base sewer infiltration issue that we've had at Point Base?
I don't think they're gonna do that specifically, but they're aware of it. They're also looking at the whole city as part of that grant.
I went down there yesterday, we had this rain this morning, it was pretty heavy. I went down there and watched, and a lot of that water is coming from the commercial shopping center. It's coming down, and the street and everything, and it goes in this one culvert down there. And I think that needs to be looked at.
It's not connected to the sewer system.
No, it isn't, but there might be something wrong where maybe it is ate its way through or something. Something is wrong. That's the houses that flood right there, right? On Point Base.
Right.
Why are they flooding? You know, something's getting in there, and
Right.
that needs to be looked at. You know, as far as how's everything set up in the shopping center and other places. There's not very many culverts there that will handle the water, and most of it goes to the one. Because I went over to Dollar General too, while it was raining, and watched the rain over there. And I got some ideas or concerns. I sat with Dave and talked to him about.
And we did have one of our property owners ask us for a backflow, so we provided that.
One other comment on that, and well, I know we're running long. Somebody brought up the fact that when the sheriff's office built the new facility out there at the prison, that all of that sewer was put in probably going through the Point Base system. And that was probably designed prior to. So does the prison have any effect on the sewer system down there in Point Base? And so, and I don't know, and you don't have to give me an answer today, but I mean, I think that was the first time it hadn't flooded since before 2005. And I think the prison got really built up in 2005, 2007, somewhere in there. So I don't know if we don't have a capacity now for that facility downstream.
So the issue though is you're not seeing it happen daily or on a regular basis. It's only when there's a heavy rain.
Yeah.
So I don't think the sheriff's office and their sewer use is contributing to what we're talking about. So, I mean, it's an 8-inch sewer line, 8-inch up there, 8-inch down below, so it should be able to carry that.
Yeah.
We would have seen backups or other issues more often from that. So again, it's an influent infiltration system issue.
How long does it take to set that pump up on Washington or for that? Yeah.
How long does it take to run it, leave the shop, get down there and set it up?
45 minutes to an hour. Set the suction line, the green suction lines. That's pretty heavy.
Is there any way to put like a permanent line in there or something that you just back the pump up to and hook it up to, that you don't have to do all that suction?
If you find something that can handle the UV.
So we've
Yeah.
talked about that, yes.
Yeah, the idea of leaving that pump down there scares me and stuff with, dirt and the gas and the oil and, I mean, that scares me other than building a structure, to put it in. But I think if it's minimal amount of time, I think since it's been brought to the attention, I think that'll probably become a little more of a priority. I know the last hard rain, it was up and the barricades were out. And I think as long as we, bring those things to light, they'll be taken care of better.
Any other topics to discuss at this time? All right. If there's nothing else, then we will adjourn. Thank you all.